the Insider Hotline we go. Our buddy, Frank Seravalli. He's looking at the hoodie. He's ready to go. Go Birds. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Let's go.
Damn right.
Super Bowl week. Let's go.
There you go. Well, and then, we'll kind of get right to it because Rhett was saying we have the Flames perspective. It's, Pelche is this and Kuzmenko is that. And it's only a second and you've got extra picks. So we're going to have a certain view on it. In Philadelphia, it's been a few days now. I've not seen a whole lot of people overly upset about Frost and Farabee leaving town. They may not like the return, but in terms of the players, 2 recent sort of first rounders leaving town, it doesn't seem like too many are heartbroken. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would say that the biggest thing that no one has really said out loud is that the Flyers are getting closer to the bottom, which how many times have we had this conversation in Calgary? They need to. Like, they need difference makers. And to go from, I don't know, 20th place to 27th or 28th is very doable for the Flyers. Not saying that though they're overtly attempting to do that, but that should be the unstated goal of this transaction, is at least for a moment in time for 2 players that are not going to be part of your future plans, rip the Band-Aid off and start sliding down the standings, because that's in the best interest of the Flyers. They've now done something that's never happened in franchise history before. They've been shut out for 3 consecutive games.
Ooh. Yeah, I was going to say, and once you're there, you'll have some segment of the fan base that'll be, it's been 3 games, we don't score, this is terrible. But the other side, if they can live with it and stomach it, this is what you want. Don't score. We got a little under half the season left. We're tanking it as much as you can tank, but we're looking for high picks. We're looking for more trades. What else can Briere do there, I guess, in terms of dismantling?
Well, they're going to try and acquire a difference maker. And in parentheses, my guess is that the center that they're targeting is Elias Pettersson. No one has said that out loud, but I'm thinking that, look, let's see what happens here in Vancouver. He's on the clock for sure. He's got to make a difference, and he's got to show that he's up to the $11.6 million level that they expected him to be at. But my real concern for this Flyers build is that they don't have a lot of the positional boxes checked. Unlike Calgary, they don't have a goalie. They don't have a stud defenseman on the way. They've got a winger in Matvei Michkov, who has shown flashes of something fascinating, but they don't have a center. And those are 3 really important boxes to check, center, D, and goalie, that they're a long way off from doing, that they've got a ton of work to do to get there.
Is Torts the right guy for this? And how, because it feels like the Flames got these guys at a discount because it wasn't going to work with Torts. Is that overstating it, or is that
no? It's not overstating it. And I've said as full-throated and loud as I possibly can that John Tortorella has been the exact worst coach that they could possibly have. Think about last year. That team vastly overachieved, was in the 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division from the start of the season all the way into March, accumulated God knows how many points that they shouldn't have. And then the wheels fell off. They missed the playoffs. They didn't get a lottery pick, and they didn't get a difference maker in the draft. Like, I'm willing to reserve some space for Jet Luchenko, and I think he's going to be a promising NHL player, but he's not a game changer. He's much more like a Scott Laughton than anything else. And not to say Scott Laughton's a bad piece to have, not at all, but you want game changers. And none of this is new. This is the same conversation we've had about the Flames. The difference that I see is the Flames don't have the ability to truly bottom out, whereas the Flyers did and could have, but their coach was a better coach than they needed. And they had just enough, Farabees, Frosts, Brinks, whoever, these somewhat talented players that are keeping them from getting to the bottom.
Somebody asked me on the weekend if the Flames didn't have Wolf, and so maybe take away 5 wins or whatever going from Wolf to would this
another
trade have
Bedard.
happened?
Right.
And you know what? I don't know if it would have, to be honest. It doesn't change anything in what you saw Kuzmenko or Pelche as. But I honestly, I don't really know. And that seems kind of, is that fair? Go ahead, Rhett.
Well, just to add to that, I think the difference maybe between the franchises or a lot of teams is I do believe Wolf is going to be that guy. And how you treat it, though, the question, I guess, to further what Boom is saying, we had Kiprusoff here. He hit a lot of warts for a long time, but it doesn't end up winning you anything.
Close.
But yeah, I got you damn close.
Yeah,
Like a
once.
missed goal in game 6 away from having.
But that was one, and I'm
see
talking
that.
about actually the years after that, because he came out of nowhere and the team wasn't built around Kiprusoff, but they're starting to recognize that Wolf's really good and they're planning for that, I think, by adding these guys. I'm just saying, like, it is good and you want the goaltender. But what Frank said is also true. We don't have a star. Sorry, Frank, my camera's crazy.
You know
we
what
don't
happened
have
there too, Rhett? Let me ask you about this. When Kipper came in and you realized he was good, the run to the cup final happened almost immediately.
That year.
And then it was hardcore chasing. We got to keep this almost cup winner together.
Exactly.
This could be more of a slow build, right? Where we're one piece away. Let's get Darren McCarty. Let's get Owen Nolan. Let's
Old
get
Tony
Tony
Amonte.
Amonte. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just felt like we're so close.
The
But we're
Flames
here.
have
You
Darren
can.
McCarty.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
Yeah.
I just thought he was a lifelong Red Wing.
Went to the cup final, lockout season, came back with Amonte, and
I know, but that's it. You end up with the same thing. I know you're saying it's a longer build out, and sure, maybe Conroy has a better approach to it, but it still goes back to what Frank said and what Pinder has argued about, what we've all actually said. You need stars to win, and Wolf's a star. They still don't. Kadri's good. Huberto's playing better. Frost might be good and I'm not saying I don't like the move. I'm just saying it still goes against what Frank just said and what a lot of teams have that win with is a superstar. Who is it?
So let me see if I can explain how I feel about the Flames in an articulate way, because I don't know if I've said it properly before, and I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but bear with me. I think when you're thinking about this team and where it's at, there's like bands in the standings of where you think you can get to, inside a realm of possibility. And the point that I was trying to make when we talked about this a week or two ago with Dustin Wolf is he is stretching the band closer toward being a contending team just by virtue of his play. And like, you theoretically each year he's going to stretch you, if the range this season for the Flames was 22nd to 15th, he's now stretching you to like 18th to 14th or something, if that makes any sense when I say it.
Sure.
And each year it's kind of like you're hoping with his progression is going to pull you a little bit closer. And boom, to your point with the slow build, that I think if you chip on a couple correct pieces, that band can sort of more gradually pull in the other direction. And I think that's part of the thought process here is that, who knows, maybe when you get to a position where you've got the new arena open and you've got your internal cap where you want it to be and your team has improved significantly enough in the standings, that maybe you can get one star in free agency. Maybe, and you stack on, like, I think it's really within the realm of possibility that 1 year from now, we're having a conversation about Morgan Frost being a 65-point player for the Calgary Flames. And then if you get Farabee to continue to play at the level that he, should be at, that you stack these things on top of each other one by one, brick by brick, that band just sort of continues to slide in the other direction. Maybe by a standings place or 2 or 3 each season to the point where you become a top 10 team and then you start to make things interesting. Does that make any sense?
No, it does.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah, the goal has changed everything is what we all agree on here. Like if you're getting league average net mining, you're not losing your first round. You're picking top 10. It's that simple. You're 10 points down in the standings. You're picking top 10.
bands will make our dance. I mean, that's really ultimately what I wanted
So,
to say. Yeah.
Elliot reported on the weekend on Hockey Night that the
I don't
Flames
even get a laugh.
No,
Nothing.
Sorry. It's
walked
very
over.
serious today. We've got to
Way
lose.
too- way
Very
too
serious.
excited.
I'm sorry, Frank.
God.
You know us. We don't mess around. We've very journalistic integrity here. Go ahead, Ryan. Back to you.
Thanks, Dean. There's reports on the weekend from Elliot that the Flames are shutting down any conversations surrounding Rasmus, which I understand, but also Nazem Kadri, Mackenzie Weegar. Yeah.
How
Now-
many times since September can
I
I
know.
say the same goddamn thing until someone else will believe me?
Frank, hang
And
on.
then wait. So then I say it, and I've said it consistently, but then someone else says it, so therefore it's news. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
We have talked about it with you. I'm circling back. I get where they're at with Anderson. They'd love to keep him. They don't want to dismantle this room. What I think is very different about Nazem Kadri is that you've got 4 years left on a guy that turns 35 in October. Could you make the case that if Zeri's a center and Frost is a center and you've got Backlund who's a center, would it not be much better for the team in the new arena to get something for Naz while you can? He's playing well. He's good. I'm not trying to run the guy to town, but asset management wise, are we expecting 36, 37, 38-year-old Nazem Kadri to be helpful at his cap hit or a detriment? Because I know where my chips are stacked.
I'm with you 100%. The first thing I would be doing if I was Craig Conroy I would be calling Chris McFarland in Colorado and say, hey, you won a cup with Naz. Do you want him back? And what would it take for us to get Casey Middlestat from you on top of that in the same deal? And by the way, you said it like it was fact.
Weekend, right?
Are we sure that Zeri's a center?
I love the player, and I think he's smart enough, and the way he attacks, he can be a center, but he could obviously be a great winger too.
But we
Can
don't
be
know.
a center
Yeah.
is a good.
Honestly, it looks
But
tough.
I think that's a
You
fair
guys move there. He's
description
been
of.
very good for small reps at the NHL level there.
Yeah, but fair to say though that he can be a center is the determination we've made, not is a center.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm with you though. Like, I think moving Kadri is a different part of the equation than moving Anderson.
Right. And that's why I brought it up. I'm not here saying, hey, Frank, someone else said something you said for 6 months. Let's talk about it, because that clearly bugged you. But like, is that the right tact from Connie to be hanging up on people if they're asking about Kadri? I don't know that it is.
No, I don't think it is. I think you'd have to consider anything that came down. Like, I think being proactive is smart.
I would also caution a little bit. Like you say, is he hanging up? If I had those guys, I'd be telling it. Elliot calls me, Frank calls me, whoever calls me. I love these guys.
Art of the deal.
It's gonna be really hard for me to part with
right.
these guys. I'll tell you right now. We love our room. These guys are great team guys. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to be fair, it's the type of deal that probably happens in the summer anyway, right? If you're going to do that, that seems to be when cap space opens. And anyway.
I don't know. The Colorado Avalanche have some cap space.
Let's spin quick Vancouver. There's a two-headed thing, it seems like, going on there. Is it all fixed and rectified now because one of them's gone, or what's your read, I guess, on the deal? I happened to be in Vancouver on the weekend.
That's right.
Not happy with the return. They've traded the wrong
Shane
guy.
Gillis?
What's that?
Did you see Shane Gillis?
I did, yeah.
How was it?
It was great, yeah. It was exactly what you think it was. It was a bunch of.
Did he tell the Notre Dame joke?
Yes, he did.
Oh God.
Yeah, at great length.
Yeah, that one really.
Yeah.
That one threw me through a loop.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shane Gillis.
He's tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold out for people. He's a comedian. Sold Rogers Arena out.
18,500.
Yeah. He's from our neck of the woods. Sold out Wells Fargo Center too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Anyway, so yeah, they're not pleased with the return. And then the second deal. The second deal is they're even more frustrated. Oh, you get a first and you fucking trade around. I don't even know anybody. I'm just listening to people in a pub kind of deal. Your thoughts on what happened with Vancouver, and are they done? You talked about Pettersson already. I mean, talk about what's going on in Vancouver.
So he's on the clock, Elias Pettersson. They've made it very clear that their expectations for him are way higher than the level that he's played at. And he's got 4 weeks to show them that with JT Miller gone, he can put aside his era of being day-to-day with hurt feelings and get back to being a play driving center that puts up 40 goals and 100 plus points. We've got a calendar year to look at of poor play, substandard play for him, who has not been very emotionally engaged. And, you can tell me all you want about, oh, well, his defense has been pretty good. Okay. But that's what got him $11.6 million bucks. So, he's got his work cut out for him. And I think if they get to a position where a few more weeks have gone by and without Miller there, they don't see a drastic improvement, I won't be surprised at all to see him move before this deadline. And if not before this deadline, then they absolutely underlined must certainly trade him before that no trade clause kicks in on July 1st. I think you're dangerously close at that point to getting yourself into a position where he's been found out, that the rest of the league looks at him and says, we're not going to give you value for him. Right now, you still have a window where you can get value for him. And that's a key delineation and mark of distinction. With regards to the trades themselves, no, they did not get a good return on JT Miller. We knew they weren't going to. Philip Hedl is not as good a center as Morgan Frost and not as productive. And he has a full concussion history that certainly should be alarming. But I understand the idea of feeling like you have to rip the Band-Aid off and do what's best for your organization and move on. Fine. So you park that trade. The idea hours later, though, that a potentially unprotected 2026 first round pick is burning your hole in your pocket to get a guy that you could have gotten at any point in the last couple of years in Marcus Pettersson, that part is what lost me. You can trade Miller, you can get a poor return, but when you then trade for a pending unrestricted free agent in Pettersson and feel like you might have to then double down and extend him to make the trade worth it, he's not a nearly efficient puck mover enough for me or difference maker to warrant both the asset given up and to think that you've now repositioned this team as a team that can contend. I think the Vancouver Canucks are way worse off today than they were last week. And I think they're a long way from being a team that's anywhere close to the contender category. And there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I look at the roster and it's like, geez, they went from a dynamic group of forwards to like, well, I guess maybe if Demko's healthy, it's a deeper blue line that had struggled mightily. And
does this feel like them just trying to
what?
Does this feel like, sorry to jump on both you guys, I almost wonder, and we traded Horvat, we got a first, we flipped it right away for Hronek, and that worked out great. Yeah. We're just going to do the same thing and hope it works out again. Trade a player, get a first rounder, move that out, get a player right now. I don't like this one as good as the Hronek deal. I'll tell you.
The difference is Hronek's good and Pettersson's not.
Well, so you don't like Pettersson because defensively people love him. Like he's no.
They couldn't trade him for the first part of that deal because it was too long and too expensive. Then all of a sudden, he's one of these amazing cases. Then all of a sudden you get to the end of the deal and it's like, oh my God, this is a value deal. How's that happen? Tell me how that works. If a player is truly good, truly impactful, truly game-changing, you're trading for him at any point.
Yeah, I can't pretend to tell you I know a whole lot about.
I just see the defensive metrics. He's very quiet offensively. I get it, but what they needed was someone that could play top 4 minutes.
5. He's a number 5.
What is he?
He's 5. Okay, yeah, all right. If he's a 5, that's not a good deal.
That's right. That's right. He's a 5. He's a 5. But it does. I wonder what it does to the room, because you hear that JT Miller grates guys. He wears guys down. He's a lot. So there might be a little bit of, decompression in the room, but at the same time, guy's a pretty good player. Maybe wasn't playing to his capabilities this year, but what if he was to turn it around? What if he's the guy that he was near the end of the season, into the playoffs? He's already got 4 points in 2 games for the Rangers. 4 points in 2
games with the Rangers. He is that guy. Ask the Rangers how they feel, their players feel about getting JT Miller today.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing you can say about JT Miller is that he wants to win so damn bad that he's willing to do or get in anyone's face to do it. Willing to do anything. And as annoying as that might be and grating at times, I would much rather try and calm him down and harness him as opposed to try and coax it out of Elias Pettersson.
Yeah,
That's
it's the whole you'll take the wild horse and try to train him rather than kick the mule, right?
Who's in on him now?
On Pettersson?
Yeah.
I think there's a whole bunch of teams that would be willing to shake things up in order to do it. I just mentioned the Flyers. I think you'd have to consider them as one. I mean, pick any team that has any lack of anything down the middle. Carolina was all over him. I'd have to think if you're Boston, you'd be in the mix trying to call. I think any team that's even in a competitive cycle is saying, hey, Pettersson could potentially make our team better.
Money the challenge, right? At that getting that in this year.
Yeah, getting it in this year, but that's the exciting part about the cap going way up is all of a sudden, not only is that deal a lot more palatable and maybe you're willing to take the risk on, but like I just had a new trade targets board come out today. What about Seth Jones now at $9.5 million? 3 years from now, that's 8% of the cap. 3 years from now, he'll be 33, but the way he effortlessly skates, are you worried about the age curve with him? I'm not.
He's got 4 or 5 on a good team.
Seth Jones is a
Yeah.
2 all day long.
Really?
All day long and twice on Sunday.
So you think I just hear everyone yelling about how bad the contract
team,
is.
On a
Is that
cup
not-
contending team as a 2 and on most teams as a 1. He
Hmm.
plays 25 minutes and 18 seconds a night.
In Chicago, like you put him in New York, you're moving Taves off the top pair. Colorado, sorry.
Yeah, I am.
Is it- Okay.
Haven't seen him on a strong team. That's the one thing. Goes from the Blue Jackets to Chicago. I'm not sure. Again, I defer to you on that one. Just a quick spin. We sometimes you see teams that struggle. It's like, what are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna have to fire the coach. Gonna have to fire the coach. Okay, well, we'll see what happens there. And Stevie Y has taken some shit this year for what his team looks like and the roster construction. And then on Boxing Day, he fires his coach and brings in Todd McClellan. They're on 14-4-1 since McClellan came in and replaced Derek Lawan. This is one that has worked. Now, I don't know, what is that, 19 games? Is that still a small sample size? Or how much you've paid attention to Detroit? But what's happening there? Are you still on a 20 games in? Could you still be a coaching change burst, or has it made all the difference in Detroit?
No, I think it's made a real difference. And I do think that their whole attitude changed. That team all of a sudden started believing. Believing is an interesting word, though, because I'm just not a believer in that defense core. Justin Hall, I just reported last night, Jeff Petrie out 6 to 8 weeks, Ben Sherratt, Eric Gustafson. They've got 2 good, solid young defenders in Simon Edvinsson and Mo Seider. But they're a long way off from being a truly competitive team. However, doesn't really require much belief or squinting to make the playoffs in the East this year. It's a mess. It's garbage. You know, you've got basically 3 teams in the Metro and 2 teams in the Atlantic. And after that, it's kind of a free-for-all. Maybe you say the top 6 are locked in, but those last 2 spots are up for grabs. The Rangers are squarely in the mix after being left for dead. But it's not just the Red Wings. It's the Bruins. It's the Lightning have not been very good. Columbus, a team that no one thought could compete, they wake up this morning in a playoff spot. Although that Marchenko jaw injury, hopefully he's not out too long. It's wide open for Detroit to burst in. The question is, what are they beyond that? And how can they get to a level where this is sustainable and something that they can reasonably expect year after year? Because they've got some really good prospects coming, but they need a better bridge from here to there.
All right, brother. I know you got a heart out. We're going to get you out of here. Prediction for Sunday.
Oh,
I've got the Eagles by 6.
wow.
Yeah,
I've
I
got
think-
the officials spotting the ball wrong 6 times.
I think Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are not as good as they've been in years past. And I think they're going to face the best defense that they've faced all year. And I think Jalen Hurts just needs to play clean and let Saquon do his thing and let Jalen Carter and the rest of that defense rip some faces off.
So you think they can run the ball on that Chiefs D?
I do.
Did you
That's
get
the game
hotel
to me.
rooms? I hear hotel rooms are a son of a gun.
Not going to need one. Going and coming back.
Is that
All in
right?
one day.
Wow.
In and out. Quick and dirty. It's what we like about you, pal.
PJ,
Well,
Frank?
Was that?
PJ? In and
private
out?
jet. You
No
got the-
PJ, but there's a way to do it.
All right.
And get to Montreal the next day for Four Nations face-off.
Unbelievable.
Makes it look easy.
Good luck, Frank. We'll be thinking about you.
See you guys.
You betcha. There he is, Frank Seravalli, our insider from Daily Faceoff.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.